and go live. We are confirmed. We have gone live. That's what I'm saying. Can I like scooch that in closer? Let's just close that. Let's just do the close on that. What's going on here? I don't want to do that. No, make that go away. There we go. There we go. Stream, you're all set up, ready to rock. Ready to go, ready to chill. Ready to party. It's ready to partay. Now I just need to get all this set up. What's going on, Priest? What's poppin'? Jamie, N.E. Nemchappy. What's good, everyone? Charlie, glad you're feeling better, dude. Kevin, what's going on? Rondra, I kill it every time, dude. Look at that. Already throwing in IEG built stage 2.5 tough. So, I'm doing the live stream tonight because tomorrow we're pulling the motor out of the car and everything like that, and it's probably going to be more of a late day. So I want to hop on, do the live stream tonight, so that way you guys still get one. I will probably do another live stream either Saturday or Sunday. So this one right now is taking place for tomorrow, just so that we somewhat stay on schedule, because there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. Hello, Austin. What's going on? Built bottom end for the STI. That depends on the health and the status of the short block in the car right now. If that short block is still usable, I may just reuse that one, fix the heads if the heads are the problem. But we don't entirely know what the problem is quite yet. I'm going to be pulling the motor tomorrow, checking valve lash on everything and making sure everything on the head side is good. Probably going to be removing the valves, make sure we didn't bend a valve or anything like that. So, you know, it'll be a real party. Real party. Ronald, Steve, what's going on, you guys? Bradley, nope, flow matching heads. I have no, like I said, we're gonna be figuring all that out tomorrow. How goes it? What's going on, Anthony? Just living life, man. Nick, it's popping. What do I think about the FP0 Turbo? It's a really good stock location turbo if you're looking to make a ton of power, but fitment on that thing sucks to try to get anything else in there. Long block. I already... That's expensive. That's like expensive stuff. What is going on? Have not seen the last two videos yet. Logan, my friend, the blob eye. It's somewhat dead, I guess you could say. It's not right. Go check out that video after this, during this. Go check out that video if you'd like. There's a whole bunch of exciting stuff going on. Also, Richard, welcome to the membership program, my friend. Always appreciate the support, you guys. Channel members, you get early access to everything. You guys, current channel members know all that. They've known that there's been a problem with the motor for a couple days now, but yeah, it's a real party. Kevin, hey bro, I made 296 wheel horsepower, 317 foot-pounds of torque. Very nice, dude. Very nice. Steve, what's poppin', dude? Butterfly effect. How's your night going, dude, besides the engine? Yeah, it's going. Ran some errands, been responding to your guys' comments all day. Instagram, DMs, messages, all that fun stuff. Pricing out potential options for the blob eye just to see where we will go depending on what the problem actually is. So like I said, tomorrow motor is going to be coming out, heads are going to be coming off. I'm going to be checking valve lash, make sure valve lash is straight on all the valves also, so it'll be fun. Sorry about the engine, brother. No worries, Eric, dude. It happens. Eric Smith, I should specify because there's two of you, like, right there. What's good, Tanner? What's up, other Eric? Eric Gerhardt. What's going on, dude? Hey, quick question. 600 horsepower turbo for the FA twin scroll on a 2.5 IAG long block. On the top of my head, FP Black, I think maxes out at 550. Bloush Dominator 5.0. I would definitely check out Bloush, see if they make any turbos for the FA. I cannot confirm, but it is worth looking into. Also, Plumber, appreciate the dono, dude. You kill it every single live stream with the donos, man. Always appreciate it, dude. Sorry about your blob eye, but that means more peace of mind coming down the road, knowing you'll essentially have a rebuilt engine. Totally. It's not the end of the world either. When you guys blow up motors, like if I have like the bad motor and things like that, it's definitely not the end of the world. Does it suck? It 100% sucks, but things could always be worse, and it's just the motor. So we can pull it out, we can get it fixed in the garage. The heads will have to be remachined. If it's just a head issue, I'll probably end up reusing that short block just because budget-wise, if I can try to mitigate how much more money I'm throwing at the blob eye right now, that would be beneficial. But while it is out, we're definitely going to be doing head studs, new head gaskets, obviously, GSC valve train. If the short block is screwed, it'll probably be Type RA short block or something along those lines, but There's a lot of potential options of what we will be doing with this car. I just don't know quite yet until we get that motor out fully disassembled. Also, Plumber, Rock Lobster. Appreciate it, dude. We were actually listening to that song the other day when we were out and about driving around. Go and get back to BRZ. You had it perfect. Merry Christmas and hope all is well. Better 2021. I do miss the BRZ, but the STI, the Blob Eye to be specific, I absolutely love that car. I want to get it going 100%. That car needs to be going 100%. Man, it honestly sounds like a valve to me. That's what Matt and I are thinking also, is that it could be a valve issue. Maybe the valve lash was set incorrectly from the previous owner and it bent a valve. My biggest concern with if it is a valve issue is if the valve made contact with the piston. If it did, then we're going to be looking at a whole lot of not so fun stuff, because then it's going to get really expensive really quick. So we're going to see what we can do. Rip to the STI. It's not dead. It's like it's sick right now, and it just needs a little bit of love to get, a little bit more love to get better. Do a batter built block. Those are completely out of my budget. I did look at his blocks earlier. They are very, very, very pricey. Not much, but absolutely love your content and watching the last video hurt. Yay for more Blob Eye content, but ouch. Hey, appreciate the dono, Richard. Appreciate the membership program. Also, dude, we will get the car back on the road. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of Blob Eye content coming up. Everyone seems to be loving the Blob Eye stuff, so we're going to be pulling the motor out of the car. I'll show you guys how to pull the heads off. It's pretty similar to how we did it on the EG33 if you guys saw those videos, but the heads will be coming off, the cams will be coming out, a whole bunch of stuff. We'll get it fixed. We'll 100% get it fixed. I already went through the 7 stages of blowing or destroying or something wrong with your motor, whatever you want to call it. So, we're on the right track. We are on the right track here. Nem, I am digging the emojis, dude. Matto, hey Tanner, sorry to hear about the Blob Eye. No worries, you guys. Like I said, we'll get it back on the road. It'll probably be down for a month or so, I'm guessing. I obviously have to wait to get paid before I can even buy anything for the car, and I don't want to buy anything for the motor yet until we actually determine what the issue is, just because I don't want to be going back and forth buying multiple parts of something that I might not need or something that I may need, and then I spent the money on something else. So we'll start getting stuff ordered here in the next couple days, hopefully. Finally made it this week. Sadly got rear-ended in my new truck from the snow last night. I am sorry to hear, Aaron. I hope that insurance takes care of you, my friend, and hopefully the truck's not totaled out. Yo, just started watching. What did I miss? What's going on, D-Retro? Not much. We're just chilling, talking about stuff, talking about the Blob Eye, talking about what we might do, kicking it, hanging out, you know, all sorts of fun stuff. Should I replace my radiator hoses on my 50K, 17K WRX? When I replace the radiator to the Mishimoto ones, they look fine, though. If they look fine, don't replace them. I'm not a huge fan of the Mishimoto radiator hoses. When I swapped over the radiator hoses on the Blob Eye, I just used OEM replacement ones. They last, like, stupid long. Fitment is pretty good on them. You need to trim them up a little bit. But for the most part, I'll just reuse your hoses. Save the monies. Do some crazy FA build in it. In the Blob Eye? I'm already doing one motor swap right now, which we don't even have the motor back for. So, one engine swap at a time. Fully built Blob Eye, my budget does not allow for a fully built Blob Eye, I can tell you that right now. Hopefully it's just something with the valves. That is what I'm hoping. That would be the most cost-effective solution, is that it is just something with the valves if the valve is bent. But like I was saying, my biggest concern, if it is a valve issue, if the valve went too low and it hit the piston, then we're going to be looking at a whole nother chooch of stuff that we got to take care of. Stock power, or I don't know. I mean, ideally, I'd like to get the Blob Eye up to around 400 wheel horsepower just as a daily driver, something within that realm. But we'll see what happens once we start tearing it down and start rebuilding it. Also, Butterfly Effect, welcome to the membership program, my friend. You guys get discounts on merch, early access to fun information. Like I said, everyone else knew, or channel members at least knew, the Blob Eye had some issues. It was like a day or two ago or something like that. But I always appreciate the support, you guys. You guys absolutely kill it. Stripped and snapped an intercooler mounting bolt. Could be much worse, Austin, I promise. Could be much worse. I would go in there, I'll just try to pull it out. If the bolt is sticking through the welded nut, you can typically get a pair of vice grips or needle nose pliers on there, twist it out itself, or you can get a bolt extractor, just let it soak in PB Blaster for a little bit. They typically come out pretty easy. No! LOL, dang, at work now. Hope it showdown, I will. Hope when it showdown, I will. Not quite. I lost myself there. Bro, I'm so sorry about the motor. It's all good, dude. Like I said, we will rebuild. We will rebuild. I don't know when, but we will rebuild. Hopefully it's not like crazy long. Droxy, what's going on? Question, bro. Which 2 oil gauges are best? Or which oil gauges should I run? I already have air, fuel, and boost to keep up the good work. I personally only run 3 gauges in my cars. Typically, it is oil pressure, air fuel ratio, and boost. I just like independent sensors on all of those. If you are looking for a good oil pressure gauge, AEM, I haven't had any issues with any AEM oil pressure gauges that I've ordered in the past. I would definitely check those ones out. Pretty good price too. The Blob-Eye has proved to be a huge source of content. Ups and downs, but you're still killing it. That's what I'm saying. I really didn't know that the Blob-Eye was going to have all this stuff wrong with it when I bought it. But you know what? It's all right. And a lot of people were asking me, like, could I take legal routes against the dealership if I wanted to? I could, but it's really not worth it. The cost of fixing the motor and rebuilding it and just getting it back on the road would be significantly less than the legal fees that I would pay if I won. Then obviously they'd cover the legal fees. But typically when you go out and you buy cars from third-party lots, you sign an affidavit which says, hey, the car is sold as is. There's no warranty with it unless you opt in for a warranty. Obviously, I didn't opt in for a warranty because we modify every car that comes to the channel. But it's just not worth the legal trouble to try to go after the dealership or anything like that. So it is what it is. FP Blue FA20 DIT. Yes. Tanner, just watched your last video. My heart goes out to you because my GR hatch is getting the same treatment. I'm going with the JDM EJ205. Well, hopefully, Jeffrey, yours gets back on the road soon, my friend. Hopefully it gets back on the road soon. How the heck do you stay positive, bro? I remember when mine threw a rod, I was depressed for months. Luckily, I went with an IAG block. Like I said in some of your guys' comments, it's not my first rodeo with a motor that has engine issues. It's always rebuildable. It's always fixable. It's not the end of the world. Like, yeah, did it suck? Like, there was like a 3-hour period where I was annoyed and upset. But right after that, I went back out to the garage. I pulled all the timing stuff back on the car, reset timing, tried starting the car again. The issue was still there. So it just is what it is. It's not the end of the world. It's always fixable. Also, Tyler, appreciate the dono, dude. The $4.99, that's probably going to go towards the engine rebuild. Always appreciate the donos, guys. You guys absolutely kill it with all of that. Didn't you say you wondered if the pistons were aftermarket when you had the pan off? I did. So, I mean, I guess now we'll actually be able to verify when I pull the heads off tomorrow. I know at some point that it's a new-ish motor, which is why I'm a little bit confused and why I'm starting to think it's valve train related and not maybe short block related. But we're going to find out when I pop those heads off. We're going to check for play on the pistons. We're going to check the rods. We're going to check absolutely everything. We're going to strip that thing down, clean it, get it rebuilt, get it thrown back in the car. If it is a short block, like I said, I'm looking at the Type RA short block right now. It just falls within budget. IAG is just out of budget for me right now. So we'll get it taken care of. We'll get it back on the road. I have one small spot of oil under my oil pan for my FA20WX. What do you think I should check other than a leaky drain plug? Depending on mileage, I would go around, I would check the seal around the lower oil pan. If it looks like it's coming from up higher in the engine, at that point I would go down there with like a small flashlight, try to pinpoint where the oil trail is coming from, and then start searching around that area right there. Chris, sorry about the STI. You'll get it up soon. That's what I'm saying. I'm projecting the STI be down for a month to a month and a half, somewhere in that time frame. We'll find out. Any advice with daily driver reliability support mods while headed to stage 2+ on an EJ255 06 FXT? I'm guessing that's your Instagram handle, HobbyFozXD. For reliability stuff, I mean, just the basics. Air oil separator, cylinder fork cooling mod if you're running an EJ. Bigger radiator, oil pan, oil pickup. None of that stuff ever hurts. It's cheap insurance to have on the car. It should get you running right for a while. 2JZ swap Subaru. I already got one engine swap we're doing, you guys, which I don't even have that motor back for. When's the next oil analysis? When I have a car that actually runs. No, but for real, we are continuing the oil analysis series. Once I actually get a car that runs, preferably the black STI, we're going to be continuing the oil analysis stuff. But for right now, I mean, obviously I don't have a motor to run oil through that operates for me to be able to drive. So that will start back up whenever we have a running car again. Blaze, remove the band Pelly and see if it's the chain cover. Also a good one. I know the... what is it? There's something common in there that typically leaks. It's totally slipping my mind right now. If it comes back to me, I'll throw it out there. Manny, Tanner, my condolences. It's all good, dude. Stage 2 Tough is rated for 600 horsepower, but my STI 640 horsepower will be okay for a daily driver. Already bought the block and in the process of installing it. If it's rated for 600, you're pushing for 640. I mean, personally, I would dial back. Whenever it comes to building a motor and you have a horsepower goal in mind, say you want to hit 600 horsepower, 650 horsepower, you typically want to buy a block that's built for 20% stronger than the power you're shooting for, just to be able to handle it. If you're pushing it at max chooch and you're always like getting on it, then obviously that block's not going to hold up for that much power over time. If I were you and you wanted to stick with that motor, I would dial back what you're shooting for a little bit, maybe down to like 550-ish at minimum. You just want to have like at least a 20% variance between like how much horsepower you're shooting for and what the block is rated for. Yeah, I'll check it out. Got a free oil change from the dealer, so IDK, but the plug, checking that first. Always a good place to start. My valve made contact with my piston, and it was an entire new long block. Life sucks. Wife still hates me 4 months later. That's what I'm hoping is not going to happen with the black STI out there, but we'll find out. Are you going to keep the EG33 car when it's done? 100%. I am not selling that car. When the 6-cylinder STI is done, I'm not selling that car. That car has had way too much money and time invested into it, and I have sentimental value in that car. The 2017 STI isn't going anywhere. I don't plan on selling the black 05 STI in the future either. That's a car I wanted for a very long time, and I'm already like this deep in getting it fixed. So neither of the cars. I don't plan on getting rid of either of these. So much for a daily. It'll be a daily one day, just not today or tomorrow. Also, do you have a second job or is YouTube your full-time? YouTube is my full-time, but I do side jobs for other people, photo shoots, video shoots for people, whether it be like marketing stuff, personal video stuff like that. I used to do side jobs for people on their cars, but I just don't have the space to do it anymore, unfortunately. But YouTube is the primary gig for what I do on everything. Nth Level Entertainment, what's poppin', my dude? What up, homie? What happened to my blob eye? Something is wrong with it. I don't know what quite yet, but something is definitely wrong with that car. Hey, quick question. Driving 2020 STI, is it okay to keep it bone stock? Why would it not be okay to keep it bone stock? Keep it bone stock. Nothing wrong with that. Fortunato or Feel coilovers. Flip a coin at that point because both of those are super awesome coilovers. Honestly, I'd probably snag Fortunato just because I use Fortunato a little bit more than Feel. But Feel coilovers are on par with Fortunato. You cannot go wrong with either option. Do you think it's worth it to turbo an Impreza 2.0 hatchback? No, I don't. I would think you'd be better off buying a WRX or engine swapping it at that point, but I don't think turboing the stock motor, whether it's an FB20, FB25, actually it should just be an FB20, or if it's an older EJ that's naturally aspirated, you could swap it if you wanted to, but then you're going to be doing like the entire drivetrain, the ECU, the engine, a whole bunch of other stuff, so at that point I'd say you're better off just buying a WRX or an STI. Yo, what is I? Yo, what is up? Not much, just kicking it, just hanging out. Hey, what's your opinion on air suspension? I love air suspension. I used to have air suspension on the 17 STI. It's awesome, but don't expect really good handling if you just throw air suspension alone at your car. You're gonna have to do some other supporting mods around the air suspension, whether it be sway bars, end links, chassis bracing, all this other stuff just to make things feel a little bit better. But air suspension, it's awesome. It's very versatile. It fits set up properly. It's pretty good suspension. Heard the news about the blob eye. Taking my Hawkeye to the shop tomorrow for a short block rebuild, so I feel ya. It is unfortunate, and it is the world that we live in, but it's not the end of the world. Just keep that in mind. Look at it as an opportunity to build the car better, to build it better than it once ever was. Should I do exterior or engine mods? Whatever one you prefer, Ryan. I cannot tell you how to build your car, but I can give you answers and advice on a little bit more specific questions. I don't know what you feel comfortable with. I don't know if you feel comfortable digging into the car and actually starting to modify a lot of that stuff. But whatever you feel like, dude. Had my 2020 WRX hit and run in a parking lot. Ooh, I've had that happen before. It sucks. Completely ruined my plan of selling it. Mint condition for next gen STI. Well, hopefully insurance takes care of you on that. Damage isn't too bad and things like that. I know the feels. I've had that happen to me before in some of my old Nissans, some of my old Subarus. It's never fun. The Gaming Glance, just your latest vid few hours ago. I feel bad. Like I said, it is what it is, guys. We will rebuild. We'll make it better. We'll make it better than it could have been. Collier Blob Eye OJ, because it's killing your wallet. That is accurate. It is absolutely killing my wallet right now. Yes, rebuild, it shall be better, stronger, and more reliable. We have the technology. We can rebuild. Boreforts, what's going on, my dude? Ayo, Tanner. Very unfortunate to hear about the motor, but hey, more experience and more content. That's how I'm looking at it. Like I said, we're going to build it better, stronger, better than it ever was. It's a lot more content. It's really good opportunity to show everyone, like, how to reassemble, disassemble engines, how to set, like, valve lash on things like that, too. So it'll be fun. It'll be a great time. Truck's alright. Just a little bumper. The other truck is pretty bad, though. The 3.R STI JDM Trans. I have DCCD, and the Blob Eye lives again. That's what I'm saying. Glad to hear it's not that bad, also. Curious why you dislike the Radium AOS. I run on my Forester as my shop, as a huge Radium fan. I had them installed. So the huge reason I didn't like the Radium AOS when I was installing it on the car is I'm not a huge fan of the drain line. I'm also not a huge fan of the inner workings of the chamber. Maybe it's just because I don't fully understand how the Radium one works. But if you look at like IAG's, RadioS, Cobb's, and a couple other people's air oil separators, the coolant channel where the coolant runs through goes through an independent bracket in its own channel system where it flows out just to heat up the air oil separator. With the Radium one, when I was assembling it, I noticed that it's not a closed system, so it looks like to me, and maybe I'm just looking at the design the wrong way, but it looks like the coolant and the oil have a potential to mix, which is not something that I want to happen. Like I said, the drain hose, I'm also not a huge fan of the 3/4 inch drain hose and how they have you route it. It makes putting the top mount intercooler back on a huge pain. It also makes trying to fit all the other 100 hoses in there just a huge pain to do. So I did order the IAG V3 AOS to replace the Radium one. It's a solid unit. It looks awesome, and it works well. I haven't really had a chance to test it, but everything I've seen, it works well, but I'm just going over to the IAG one. I like the IAG setup a little bit better than the Radium one, but the Radium one still does look awesome. There is an STI near me. Someone is selling super cheap, under 10K. The only thing on the post said needs tune or TGV because they were deleted. How much easier would it be to get the TGVs or new short blocks? So I'm going to tell you now, when you go to buy someone else's project car, you're not buying a project, you're buying their problems. They may say that it just needs a tune and TGVs, but I guarantee you there's a lot more with that car that's probably going to have to be fixed or replaced. If you want it, I mean, sub $10,000 isn't a bad deal, assuming mileage. I don't know how much mileage is actually on the car, or what year it is. But if you're just fine going in there and kind of doing everything that I'm doing with the Blob Eye right now to this other one, you should be pretty much good to go. 2X, my man. 2XL, please. I'm working on it. I can't order any new merch until we sell this merch. That merch buys the new merch. So when I go to order next round of merchandise, I will definitely snag 2XL. If anyone does want to snag anything, though, bam! If anyone does want to snag anything, there's the link over to merch. We still have drive hoodies in medium, large, extra large, V2 t-shirts in all sizes, toe straps, jet tags, air fresheners, V1 shirts in small and medium, stickers, whole bunch of good stuff. It'll also go back into the build. It'll go into merch and the build. Other than the necessities, what are some things I should get for my rebuild? Not performance, more maintenance than anything. Depending on what the rebuild is, I would definitely go through there. Obviously, swap all gaskets, as I'm sure you're doing. ARP head studs are a really good idea while you have the heads off. Better head gaskets, obviously, than OEM. I'm trying to think of stuff like inside. Valve train upgrades, if you don't mind spending the extra money. At least springs, retainers, the whole kit and caboodle for your valves. If you don't mind doing all that stuff, you can probably rock the stock cams for a while depending on how much power you're trying to make. Externally of the motor, obviously cylinder fork cooling mod, air oil separator, all the basic bolt-on stuff, but I wouldn't, if you're just looking internally, at minimum just do some like ARP head studs also. Dream Subaru is a Hawkeye STI. I miss my Hawkeyes. I used to have 3 of them. They're awesome cars. Hey man, rip the Blob Eye. Rip the Blob Eye. I got a 2016 STL 45k miles and a week later cylinder 4, most likely low compression. Big sad. Hope to see it back up soon. Hopefully your rebuild goes quickly, my friend, and the car doesn't sit around, because it's definitely not fun just letting them sit around and be paperweights. Thanks for the timing belt video. Really helped me out at the moment. Anytime, Riley. anytime. The timing belt setup really isn't that bad to do. I did it last night again, so I did timing twice. I did it on the videos you guys saw, and then yesterday I went out there again last night after the whole startup issues with the car and the knocking and the pinging, just because I did want to verify it wasn't the tensioner or any idlers or anything like that. So I pulled timing completely off the car, reset timing. Only took about 45 minutes or so to get the timing in there. After you start doing it, or after you've done it a couple times, it's really not as bad as timing. Like, timing everything is not as bad as it seems. I have an '06 Subaru Forester, and I have a lot of oil that is on the engine. I have it at a shop to clean it and diagnose it. What would you suggest to do from there? Well, that's entirely going to depend on what the diagnostic comes back at, like what the issue actually is. Obviously, find the source of the oil leak, stop it. I mean, that's where I would start with there, and then just kind of go from there. I don't quite know what you plan on doing with the car, but find the oil leak, stop the oil leak. I've seen EJs with front-facing throttle body. Is it easy as rotating the intake manifold? No, it is not. So you need to, you're most likely going to be giving up AC. You're also going to be relocating your alternator to accommodate the throttle body placement. But a lot of people do it just for the shorter charge piping on the motor. It's definitely a good thing to do if you're considering doing it. But it's not as easy as just flipping the intake manifold around and just bolting the throttle body right up on it. Jeff, I bought the car second-hand with no warranty. That one was not to me. Do you know what could be causing 1 quart of oil consumption every 500 miles with solid leak down numbers? Without actually digging into the car, no, I don't. There could be a plethora of issues that are causing it to consume oil. You could be getting blow-by past the rings. I mean, there's a laundry list of what could be consuming the oil. 2012 WRX looking at turbo ups and downs of FP green versus FP black. Chuggy Chunk, how much power are you looking to make? Because that's going to be the real defining factor. And what block do you have in the car? Nice AR. Hey, Eric, what's poppin', dude? It's chilling over there in the corner. You think ETS catback louder than Tomei? Depends on what ETS you get. If you get the ETS catback with no mufflers, no resonators, anything like that, like I have on the 17 STI, I'm going to say yes. If you get one with mufflers, I'm going to say no. Are you going to do all the work yourself? How much is the RA short block? So, I've been finding RA short blocks for around like $2,100 within that realm. I am going to be doing all the work myself with the exception of resurfacing the heads because obviously I don't have the capabilities to do that. But outside of that, yes, I will be doing all the work myself. Woo! Chat just jumped on me. Turbo seals are okay as well. You guys are having your own convo. The cam carriers like to leak. Hell, most of the engine is sealed with RTV. That is very true. Possible valve seat on the STI. Pull the exhaust manifold, give a good look. When I pulled it, I looked at it before because when we had the exhaust manifold off, I was looking up in there and everything looked okay. But I'm not really going to be able to get a solid view of everything until I pull the head off. Well, the heads, I'm going to pull both of them off just to make sure both of them are awesome. But we'll get it taken care of. We'll get it fixed. Sorry to mess with you and your Q&A. Love you, bro. What's going on, Eric? Hopefully you're doing all right, dude. Eric's been like my best friend for the past like 10 years. Good to see you swing by a stream, Eric. I have a Crawford AOS. Apparently they aren't the best, and the new IAG is better. IAG makes a solid one. RA short block is around 1,800, 2,200. See, the RA block is pretty affordable. And from what people have been doing with the RA blocks, I mean, I'm not going to be worried about too much with like power goals for the car. The goal of the Blob-Eye was not to be like a horsepower crazy car. It's to be like a reliable, fun daily driver. Like, would I like some more power out of it? Obviously. But we'll see. Did you sell part out the old EJ that was in your 17 STI? Unfortunately, yes, and I low-key regret it. But no regrets. No regrets. Like button squad. That's what I'm saying. Hit that like button. Turn it blue or gray, whatever color it turns for you guys. I don't even know anymore. What made you choose Subaru over other brands? So the reason why I like Subaru so much is whenever it comes to modifying your own cars and you like to wrench on your own stuff, Subarus fall within like the middle area where they're not like incredibly cheap to work on. They're also not incredibly expensive. I also like different motors. I don't just like I obviously like V8s, V6s, inline 6s, inline 4s, that kind of stuff, but for some reason, I really like flat engines. They're different. They're not the same run-of-the-mill style. They're fun to modify. They're fun to drive. They can definitely be a pain. Don't get me wrong, like the Blob-Eye is being a pain right now, but like I said, it's not the end of the world. Subarus just encompass more of a an offering of what I like. They're manual, turbo, fun cars that are affordable, easy to modify, fun to modify, easy to work on once you get the rhythm down on them. It's just they check all the boxes for me. I've been looking over my recent purchase, 75k mile WRX at stage 2, and it looks like the parts are dated. Still has V1 access port. Ooh! And want to start updating parts and maybe chase down more power. Thoughts? So I've been looking over you have a V1 access port? 75k mile WRX stage 2, it looks like the parts are dated. I mean, obviously, if I were you, I'd start going through there and seeing what parts would need to be replaced, what needs to be updated. Obviously, that access port is one of them that needs to be updated. But I would start by going through the car, making a list of what all needs to be swapped out, replaced, updated, and then kind of go from there, judging on whatever your power goals are for the car, and start getting the appropriate parts to meet those goals. IG stage block is rated at the crank, not the wheel. Also good to know. It's a good casting to close deck or sleeve later. True. Isn't wheel horsepower loss like 20-25% from the crank? I mean, it varies from like automatic to manual transmission cars, but typically I want to say it's around 20-25%. Why the EG33 for the new STI? So the reason why I wanted to do an EG33 is obviously I wanted a 6-cylinder. I also wanted to do something different that was different from your average run-of-the-mill EJ257, 207, 255, 205, something along those lines. The EG33 has more similarities than the EZ30 does to an EJ. So the EG33's bell housing bolts directly up to the STI 6-speed. All of the sensors are pretty similar or the same as an EJ. What is it? The EJ22T. It's like an EJ22T with one more cylinder on it, so that way I can use a lot of the sensors, carry them over, wire them up to our standalone haul tech in the car once that comes in. It's just easier from EG to EJ versus EZ to EJ. But the EZ is a little bit easier to wire into new cars, I will say that. That's why I don't want to wife. I totally missed what that's in relation to, but I'll take it. Bro, my 2005 WRX has a consistent oil leak on the valve cover bolts. Do you have any advice? Try replacing the valve cover gaskets and the bolts with brand new ones. Hopefully that fixes the issue. If not, your valve cover itself might be a little bit worn. Especially with it being a 2005, maybe there's like a chip in it or something like that. Maybe someone cross-threaded a bolt, maybe cracked it. The valve cover itself could be leaking oil, or maybe it's actually the bolts. Maybe the bolts are just worn, they're not sealing up as they should. But I would just go through there, replace the covers, the bolts, the gaskets. That should fix the issue. My 07 WRX is Pro Tune Stage 2. Can I get away with running a parent up pipe and bigger top mount without getting tuned again? I would highly suggest you get tuned again. The top mount, some people can get away with running a bigger top mount without getting tuned for it, but if you're already pro tuned, you're going to be changing the volumetric efficiency of the intercooler itself. The up pipe you could probably get away with. I wouldn't worry about that one too much, but the intercooler is where I would start drawing the line of like, not so much. Tough luck on the Blob Eye motor. She's making progress and looking good though. It's got to come back out, but you know, we'll be making a lot more progress. What is a good Subaru project car? Zekai, it depends on what you want. I mean, you can pick up older WRXs for pretty cheap. You can pick up older STIs a little bit cheaper nowadays. Depends on what your budget is, what you plan on doing with the car, what you want to do with the car. If I were you, I would look into getting like, I don't know, like an 04 to 06 STI, or maybe like an older WRX also, depending on if you don't mind swapping a lot of the stuff out. Maybe you want to build the car or something like that. I don't entirely know. Any downside to a pick and pull used 09 to 14 turbo for an 08 WRX? Not at all, as long as you go in there and you make sure the turbo is in good condition. It also doesn't hurt to rebuild the turbo if you wanted to, just to kind of refresh it, but nothing wrong with that as long as everything is in working order. What stage clutch do you think is good for a 400 torque STI? Check out ACT. ACT has a lot of good options for clutches, pretty affordable too. I think a clutch rated up to, I think, the 490 foot-pounds of torque to the wheel or to the crank. It slips my mind right now. I think they run for about $600, which isn't too bad for a clutch and flywheel setup. On the BRZ, what did you do to make the fog lights work with the boomerang LED headlights? So the BRZ never came with fog lights, so when I put the fog lights in, I hardwired those fog lights to a relay and then wired them up to the daytime running lights. So that way when the boomerang lights would come on, the fog lights would come on also. So personal preference, it didn't come with fog lights. I didn't want to run wires all the way inside of the car, so I kind of wired them a little bit lazy. Christian, picking up the 2018 WRX tomorrow, man. What should I start saving for? The first mod after an access port. After you get your access port, go ahead and snag an air oil separator. It's going to be your lifeline. It's going to just make things so much easier, so much better, so much just breathable for the engine. Definitely snag an air oil separator. Should I run a blow-off valve on my 1JZ? No, Eric, you should not. Why would you run a blow-off valve on your 1J? Would you swap a 6-speed for a 20? Would you swap a 6-speed to a 201 Forester XT? If you're looking to make a lot of power, then yeah, obviously. I mean, the 5-speeds have issues when you start making a lot of power with them. People refer to them as glass transmissions. But if you have the money, you don't mind doing the work, definitely swapping over to a 6-speed from an STI is a good move. Plus, you get DCCD, which is always nice. Are there any Subaru aftermarket brands that make good parts for drift cars? Eric, what are you talking about, dude? Are there any Subaru aftermarket brands that make good? Yeah, what is it? Who is it? What is it? PBM, Power by Max for BRZs? There you go. I think John has PBM on his car. I think it's PBM. I don't remember. Considering going 6-speed on my 08 Forester XT Sports, looking at the JDM STI Forester Trans for the taller gears. It's a street car. How much will I miss DCCD? I mean, if you don't ever use DCCD, then obviously you're not going to miss it. Not a lot of people even use DCCD in their STIs. It could be because they don't know how to use it. They don't want to like break anything or things like that. But DCCD is a very good option for those who actually want to play with it, test it, use it on a daily basis. If you don't plan on using DCCD, I wouldn't worry about getting one with it. And if you want the JDM Forester one, by all means, snag that one. Definitely worth getting the V3 AOS. I have it and I love it. Jelly! Walt, what's going on? I have a 2016 WRX of 46K, and I'm about to do EGR-TGV deletes. Should I be looking into cleaning the valves? 100%. You should be doing walnut blasting every 30,000 miles on your FA20 WRXs. They build up a lot of carbon. There's no fuel to go over the valves to clean off that carbon buildup. So definitely consider walnut blasting, or go to Subaru and check out their slow induction service. It's like a chemical that gets fed through the intake tract, cleans off the valves. But you should be doing that every 30,000 miles. So if I install a cylinder 4 cooling mod and I take it to the dealer, do they notice the mod? I mean, depending on what they're doing with the car, they may notice the mod. Subaru's not a huge fan of you rerouting coolant to go into an extra coolant passage on the driver's side of the head, especially pulling it from the heater core lines. That can cause issues with warranty claims in the future. I'm not saying it's going to deny warranty. I'm not saying it's going to like void certain warranty claims, but it can cause issues. If you ever have any questions, always contact your service department at your dealer. Get it in writing. Send them an email. If they say yes, then you have proof that they said, yeah, it's fine. We'll still honor the warranty on the car, even with this modification on there. Why an RA block and not an IAG stage closed deck or something more better? So, as I'm pretty sure everyone knows, we have the 2017 STI that has the EG33 going into it. That one has a fully built long block. That was not cheap. That drained most of the funds for right now. Going in and fixing the blob eye, I don't have a huge budget to go in there and completely build everything, completely swap it all out. So the RA block is more in line with budget right now. I want to say it's another like $1,200 cheaper than what IAG would be offering for something that's similar in power intervals. Like, yes, it is an OEM block, the type of RA. People have been making upwards of 500 to 550 wheel horsepower with the RA block. My goal for that blob eye is probably around 400 to 425 wheel horsepower in the long run. So I don't need to go out. I don't need to spend the extra $1,200, $1,000 on an IAG block. I can't afford an IAG block. The Type RA block, if the short block is an issue, the Type RA one is just more in line with budget. I've seen some people use Killer Bee oil pans, and it knocked until he changed it back to stock. I found that form, Nathan. I started reading into it. Most people were saying it was because the oil pickup wasn't all the way torqued down and it was moving and rattling a little bit, causing the knock sensor to go off. But for the most part, I haven't seen anything relating to that oil pan. I've ran that oil pan on multiple Subarus in the past. I've never had an issue with it, creating knock or false knock or anything along those lines. Cam bolts was a great investment for me. Okay, I was looking at that for a minute. I was like, what? What's your views on intercooler sprayers for plus 10 horsepower for a few seconds? What are you going to be spraying? Meth? I mean, if you're spraying meth in there, I've seen people spray meth If you're just using it for like ice cold water to spray water onto the intercooler, I don't see a 10 horsepower gain coming off of that. But if you're going to be using meth, I mean, obviously that's an entirely different story. I do run cameras in your car. Any recommendations? I do. I have dash cams in all my cars. We have one in Melanie's car. We have one in Matt's car. I use Blackview for everything. Blackview has sponsored the channel before with a couple other cameras in the past. Blackview is absolutely awesome. I'm not saying that just because they sent over a couple cameras. But it's awesome because I can pull up like a live feed on my phone. So if my car was in like New Jersey or something, I could pull up the live feed of my dash cam on my phone to see what's going on around the car. It's got GPS tracking, all that fun stuff. But yeah, I use Blackview for everything. Awesome cameras. My access port is throwing P0442 evaporative emissions control system leak detected, small leak. What's the main places I should check? So underneath your intake manifold, you're going to have an evap sensor with a whole bunch of vacuum lines going around it. Go in there, start checking all the vacuum lines. Maybe one of them popped off, maybe one of them split, maybe one of them cracked. If you don't feel like going in there replacing all the vacuum lines or replacing the damaged vacuum line off of the evap sensor, then go through. You can delete evap, but if you do, you're obviously going to have to get the codes permanently deleted. If you have a Pro Tune and your state allows for it, where you can still pass emissions, or if you don't have emissions, you can remove all that evap stuff. But I would start by checking all those small hoses. How are you going to come drifting with us with a broken STI? I don't know, Eric. Both of them don't work. I remember. So my buddy Eric up here, he has a I want to say it's an S13 with a 1J that he is swapping into the car right now. Back when he had an SR20 in his car, I actually went up to a drift event with him in Monroe up there. I took the 2017 STI out there, and I tried drifting that. Obviously, it didn't work, but I still had fun. Still a fun time. Hey, I was wanting to go turbo on my 2018 BRZ. I was considering JDL kit because of the unequal length on it. I was wanting to know your recommendations. Honestly, when I turbocharged my BRZ, I wish I would have gotten JDL. JDL is just... The lead time on JDL is a little bit better. I think the quality on JDL is awesome. Even the MA Performance kit that I had, the overall quality of the kit was like killer. Customer service, pretty trash. Maybe it was just a one-time thing for me. I don't know. I've ordered parts from them before, and it hasn't been as bad as that whole turbo kit fiasco was. But JDL is awesome. Even running an unequal length header on a BRZ, you shouldn't have any issues. Obviously, you might have a little bit more hot spotting in cylinders 2 and 4 from the longer runners, but there's nothing that I would worry about on that setup. Unless you're shooting for like high horsepower, you should be fine with unequal lengths. 13 STI, possibly steering rack leak. Definitely not enjoyable. If it is steering rack leak, definitely check your lines. Go down under the car to the steering rack, check all the lines. You can wipe all the old power steering fluid if you want. Let the car run, throw it up on jack stands. You should be able to see a leak coming out of the power steering rack. If so, that's your issue. I would pull the rack off, swap it for a 2015 plus STI steering rack. They have a little bit better turning radius than some of the older ones do. They are expensive though. I think they run for about $700. Steering racks are not cheap. What's a quick way to know if you have bad compression? I don't think I do because I've been sort of looking at it, but I just wanted to make sure. Obviously, the best way to identify if you have low compression or bad compression is obviously a compression test. There's not really a quick way to go in there and do it. Just pull the spark plugs, get a compression tester, go in there, check compression on whatever cylinder you think might be low. It doesn't hurt to check them all either, but I would just do a compression test at that point. Have most my internals already. Rod bearings, full GSC valve train, still need pistons and cams. Going to be ordering Tomei 272 cams. Are those the Pond cams? I've seen a lot of people use the Pond cams, and they seem like pretty good cams. I have a 17 SIT, I believe, STI, and just got ETS front mount intercooler and tile blow off valve, and the rubber part of my hood scoop cowl is hitting the blow off valve when the hood is closed. Not easy to remove, just the rubber part. Any suggestions? With most of those, especially, I don't know if you can with the tile, but with some of them you can rotate the blow-off valve a little bit just to get a little bit more clearance. If not, you can always just trim around that little rubber piece also. If you're running a front mount intercooler, like you said you are, I would just pull it off. Like, you don't need that rubber piece anymore. It's just to help direct airflow to the top mount. So if you're already on a front mount, just pull it off. Plumber, appreciate the dono, dude. Always appreciate it. You absolutely kill it every single stream. Stay the course and good luck with the new build. RA stock 19 is doing 288 wheel horsepower, so the RA is nice stock. They're not bad motors. Have pawn cams on my 1J. It runs great when pulled. See, that's what I'm saying. Eric, when are you gonna get your 1J back in the Nissan? I want to see that thing running again. I knew it. I knew this comment was gonna come up. Bet you wish you got that Evo now, huh? I mean, to an extent, but I love the Blob Eye. It's an iconic STI that I've always wanted, and they're getting hard to find. Like if you the bones of that STI are there. It's just the mechanical stuff, which is things that we can all fix. But you know, I'm still happy with it. Turn it gray, like the smoke coming out of my Subaru. You're going to run 400 wheel horsepower on the RA block, Tanner. In time, yes. Right now, the whole goal of getting the Blob Eye back on the road is the main priority right now. We're not really shooting for power at this moment. But just getting the car running again is really, well, identifying what the problem is first. Plumber, appreciate the other dono, dude. Absolutely killing it, man. Just swap the Blob Eye with a stock EG and the same power 5 times as reliable. Aaron, you've got a point. Aaron, my friend, you have a point. Hit that like button, everyone. That's what I'm saying, Eric. Eric Smith, because there's more than one Eric in here. Is an access port needed when buying a Subaru? Not necessarily when buying it, but access ports are going to be your gateway into everything. So if you're going to be like modifying the car, obviously an access port, because most tuners, I'm going to say 90 to 95% of pro tuners that tune Subarus use this program called Access Tuner, which is obviously in conjunction with the access port. So they use Access Tuner, access port, they combine, they commingle together, and that's how most cars get tuned. So you are going to need an access port. Hopefully soon, maybe next year, depends on lots of other things, sadly. I totally feel you on that one, Eric. I just want to see your S13 going again. For the FP Green versus FP Black, I'm putting a built long block from GCH, rated for 700 at the crank. Wanted about 550 to the wheels. Just want a non-laggy turbo in stock location. Any recommendations? I believe the FP Black is rated up to 550. I think the ball bearing goes a little bit higher. If I were you, I wouldn't even look at FP at that point. I would go check out Blausch. The Blausch Dominator 5.0 is a pretty good turbo if you wanted to go up to 600. I have a whole video on stock location versus rotated with turbo recommendations, but I would look into Blausch. I believe their 4.0 XTR and their 5.0 XTR are really good stock location turbos, and that's what I would be looking at over Blausch. Blausch makes some really good stuff, but I'm pretty sure the FP Black maxes out at around 500 to 550. New to the Subi world from BMW N54, and I found your videos. Just wanted to say thanks for what you do. Hey, welcome to the world of Subaru, my friend. Also, I'm low-key jealous of BMW with an N54. I've wanted one for a very long time, but little bit more pricey to modify. The EZ33 is a very great platform. It is EG, but yes. What car did the EG33 come out of? EG33 came out of a SVX, so it came out of the 1992 to, I believe, 1997 Subaru SVX. They're awesome cars, awesome motors. When built properly, they're not cheap to build, I'll tell you guys that now, but when built properly, they can handle some good power. Also, Eric Davidson, welcome to the membership program, dude. Always appreciate the support, you guys. You guys always kill it in these streams. Always appreciate it, my friends. Do I need the Access Port V3 to run the Cobb Flex Fuel Sensor? Unfortunately, you do, because it runs off that program like we talked about, Access Tuner and Access Ports. Washer Nerd, it came mostly out of the Tribeca. The EZ30 came out of the Tribeca. The EG33 came out of the SVX. What intake box did you buy for your Blob Eye? I bought the Cobb one, but I'm not entirely happy with the fitment of it. Maybe it's just I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the fitment with that air box, but it does look good. I will say that. Looking at an 11 to 14 WRX hatchback as my first car. Ooh, Chris, I hope you find a good one in your search, my friend. Why would your car start knocking after you did timing? It was running fine before. Alright, so a lot of comments on this in that video. So if you go back to the very first video I posted, I believe it was the one, everything wrong with my 2005 STI. If you go in there, I mentioned that it was making a weird ticking noise. At the time, we thought it was either the AC compressor or we thought it was an exhaust leak off of cylinder 4. The ticking noise was there, but it was masked by all of these other louder noises coming out of the engine bay, leaking intake ports, leaking exhaust, all of this other stuff built up on top of it, so we didn't hear how loud the actual ticking was. Once we went through and we fixed all of those issues, and I went to start up the car yesterday, that's when I realized that the ticking was a lot more of an issue than something small like we were hoping for. So it's unfortunate, but the ticking was there prior to me fully disassembling the car and going in there. If you swing back to that video, you'll definitely see that I mentioned it in that one. It's unfortunate. I should have looked into the car a little bit more. It is what it is. We'll rebuild it. We'll make it better, and we'll go from there. Do you blip the throttle every time you downshift? Yes, I do, only to rev match, though. I've got a stock 04 STI with 245,000 miles. Should I keep it stock? I mean, if you want to modify it, definitely modify it. But with something that high in mileage, I would definitely go through there if it's still the stock motor. Compression leak down test. Don't make some of the same mistakes that I made. Check motor health before doing all that stuff. So got a 2020 WRX and a Cobb intake plus access port. I keep hearing things about not passing smog and smog issues in the future. Cannot confirm on that. I don't have emissions or smog up here, so I cannot confirm. Should I get a cross track like Sam and Brittany? Eric, if you get a cross track, lift it and take it off-roading. Can I get an AOS turn out to be faulty? Can I get an AOS out? Can an AOS turn out to be faulty? My car's still burning too much oil after having the Crawford. I mean, the baffling in the AOS could be bad, but I mean, the likelihood of that happening is pretty small. If you're still having issues burning a ton of oil, you might have a bigger issue in the car, and the AOS just can't compensate for whatever that other issue might be. I would definitely start looking into the car a little bit more and trying to find what the major cause of you burning all this oil is. But, I mean, you can get a faulty AOS, but the likelihood of that happening is probably pretty low because it's just a canister with some baffling in it. I mean, I have the whole video on AOS versus catch cans, and I tear apart an AOS, and you can see inside of it. It's just baffling. Parted out my boosted SI, about to get an STI or Evo. Ooh, let me know what you get, dude. I'd be jealous if you get that Evo. I quickly found out those things are stupid expensive to try to buy. What supporting mods do you recommend for my Stage 2 Plus 2016 WX? TGV, EGR deletes, air oil separator, obviously an access port. You're pretty much good to go with that. The FA20s are pretty efficient motors. You don't have to go through there and do a ton of work on those ones. Saw a clean 15 STI for 29K with 18K miles. It's actually pretty low mileage for 2015. I don't know. I couldn't justify $29,000 for 2015 STI. I would at least get a 2016. The interiors in them are a little bit more updated than some of those older ones. But, I mean, if you want it, by all means. I mean, 18K miles is pretty low for 15 STI. How did I get into cars? Honestly, in high school, I mean, I enjoyed tinkering with them. I had my old Subaru XT. Eric had an old Celica. We used to think we were awesome, super cool kids driving around in our old 80s cars. And then it just kind of went from there. After I joined the Army and I got stationed in Arizona for a year, I bought a 2004 Nissan 350Z. Started modifying that one. Always wanted another WRX or an STI, and ended up going down the rabbit hole of Subarus. Now here we are, and I've been going back and forth between Subarus and Nissans are probably my favorite two. I had a Maserati for a little while. Glad I gave that back to the dealership. That was a whole fiasco, but yeah, I just kind of got into cars. I like tinkering with things, like taking things apart, like making things more efficient. It's fun. It's also frustrating. Love your live videos, man. Super cool. Anytime, Samuel. I'm here to answer your guys' questions, kick it, and hang out. Sorry to hear about the car today engine video. I know, Robert. It sucks. It is what it is, but we will get it fixed. My car doesn't smoke when warmed up, and I don't have oil in the intake. That one was not to me. That was to the other one. I see you guys talking up there. My oil warranty? How did you get an oil warranty? Covers up to 6,000 miles for 30K. Should I just swap the oil even if it's sub 5K brand new? I always swap my oil at 3K miles. Some people like to push theirs a little bit farther, but the oil likes to get hot in these cars. It'll break down. I've done a couple of oil analysis where they said I could push it up to 6K miles. Personally, I just feel a little more comfortable swapping my oil every 3,000 miles. If you wanted to, do oil changes every, do your own oil change at 3,000, let the dealership do it at 6,000, and back and forth do it that way. But I mean, totally up to you. Sell the Neon if you're running low on cash, man. Subaru for the win. The Neon's not mine, you guys. The Neon is not my car. That is Matt's car. The SRT is not mine. Have you heard of South Bend? I'm purchasing their Stage 2 clutch and flywheel. My clutch started slipping 50k miles on the STI. I have heard of South Bend. I've used South Bend in the past. Awesome products. Awesome company also. I would definitely recommend South Bend if that's one that you're looking at. I have never done so much responsible preventative maintenance until I bought my WRX. For real. For real. These cars can be prima donnas sometimes. We'll make a list. It's an 04 WRX. Glad it has 75k miles. I'm new to the platform, and I'm 30 minutes away from Portland, so Surgeline will probably be my go-to. Surgeline is awesome. My power goes around 350. Built trans. Maybe you shouldn't need a built trans at 350. Check out, I mentioned this in the last stream, Kian and More Sport make blast plates for the 5 speeds, but 350, I mean, you're on the edge of the transmission, but with those blast plates, maybe a PPG gear set if you really wanted to go the extra mile should be just fine. Killer B, holy headers versus ported stock manifold worth the extra money, 100%. Killer B has a lot of like information, technical documents on their headers. Headers are awesome. Always suggest Killer B. Recommended budget radar detector. I don't know. I don't use radar detectors. I don't trust radar detectors. Every time I use a radar detector, it always goes off from semi-trucks. So it gives me like a false sense of security. So I'd rather just risk it all the time. I don't speed all the time though. Let's throw that out there right now. Tomei or ETS 15 plus WRX. I am biased. I'm going to say ETS because I like ETS a little bit better. Do equal length headers versus unequal length make a difference? Mickey, I have a whole video dedicated to equal length versus unequal length headers, but they do. They have a huge difference on one another. Efficiency is the biggest difference, but I would definitely go check that video out. It should answer all of your questions between unequal length and equal length. I'm late to the party! Did he say why the STI is knocking? I don't know why it's knocking quite yet. I'm not going to know till tomorrow until I pull the motor out of the car. Should only take me maybe an hour, hour and a half to pull the motor out of that car. But I'll know for sure tomorrow if it's something head related or if it's short block related. I'm hoping head, but we'll see. I have a 2017 STI with a Cobb intake and full remark catback. My AF Learning 1 recently reached negative 17.9. Went down today. No leaks. Had one, fixed it. Idles around 0.39 to 0.78. Is that an issue? I wouldn't worry about that. Considering you fixed it, it's probably just relearning. The ECU's compensating for that a little bit, so you should be solid. Just keep an eye on it. Do I do meet and greets? When the state is actually open, I actually go out to meets whenever I have a running car. But yeah, whenever the state is open, I mean, the state's been shut down on and off since March, with like limited like availability to go do stuff. But yes, when the state is up and running, I do go out to meets, I do hang out with people, I do all that fun stuff. But yes, to answer your question, I do. Would I recommend a Borla S-type catback, base 2018 WRX? Personally, I'm not a huge fan of Borla exhaust, but if it's one that you're looking at, you like the style, you like the sound, and it fits your budget, by all means, snag it. Quick way to check for bad rings on the ringlet, I believe, is to take off oil fill cap with engine running and see if smoke comes out. Cannot confirm on that. I have not heard anyone doing that before. Just swap the, yeah. Do I prefer Bug-Eye, Blob-Eye, or Hawkeye? So, I've had all models. I've had all chassis. Right now, I'm going to say Blob-Eye. I like the styling of the Blob-Eye the best, but all of my Hawkeyes seem to be a little bit better of a bargain than this Blob-Eye was. How important is it warming and cooling down the car? I'm religious about doing it. So, whenever it comes to cooling down the car, if you're just driving normal and you're not like out on a track doing a lot of spirited driving, I'm just fine shutting the car off. The car has coolant lines in it that feed the turbo. So, when the water's running through, I mean, the water will still flow from pressure buildup in the actual cooling system. So, coolant will still flow through the turbo. So, I'm not too concerned about just like normally driving, shutting off the car, or not waiting or anything like that. Whenever it comes to warming up, I let the car get up to operating temp. I don't like letting the car drive around with oil viscosity super high and oil pressure super high. I like to let it jump down a little bit. Typically with most cars, with the BRZ, we'll use the BRZ as an example. When I was driving the BRZ around, oil pressure on a cold start would be around 120 psi. I would let oil pressure get down to around 80 psi and let the car get, I'd say, a third of the way up to operating temp before at least driving it. So I just let the oil warm up a little bit so that way it actually has proper lubrication for all the bearings, everything within the car. But I mean, if you really wanted to, you could probably just start it and drive it. I wouldn't suggest doing that though. I need 2 big cams. My GC8 LHD 04s are LHD left-hand drive. 04s are rare now. I see more right-hand drive than left-hand drive. Totally. I see a lot of right-hand drive GC8s around. I almost bought one instead of the blah bye. If you knew at the time, would you have swapped the newer STI motor into the blah bye? No, I don't think I would have. I still don't think I would have. I regret nothing. I regret nothing. You should talk to Batter for help with the build. I cannot afford Batter. He is out of my budget. Subaru is a gateway drug to rebuild motors. Surprisingly, this is the first one that I've ever actually had to rebuild. Out of all 18 to 19 Subarus that I've had, they've all been pretty solid. This was just the first. What year STI do you like the most? Probably the 05. The 05 has been growing on me. I love my 05. I wish I could drive. I've only driven that car 3 times. But probably I'd say 05 or 07. Finish it for me. Eric, I'll tell you what. After I get both of these Subarus running, if you want to bring your S13 over here, I will engine swap your S13 for you and I will get it running. But you're going to have to do the rest. Would people watch that? Would you guys watch that? Would you guys watch a 1JZ swapped S13 build on the channel? Is that something people would... I don't even know if people would watch that. Currently have a cold air on my 19 STI. I just bought a catted downpipe. I'll probably be maxing out my injectors. So what would you recommend also? What would you recommend? Also, what other supporting mod? Boost controller AOS. If you are doing... if you just bought a catted downpipe... So if you're looking at fuel system, obviously fuel pump, injectors. If you're just looking to make under 400 wheel horsepower, ID 1050s are just fine. Obviously air oil separator, boost controller. If you're wanting to intake... turbo inlet, intercooler, I mean, the list can go on. It really depends on what your power levels are with the car. The Tomei 272s are the Pond Cams. See, they are the Pond Cams. It's just a different route than the GSC or Brian Crower. I would have loved to do a GSC S1 billet cams, but unfortunately, budgets are a thing. I totally feel the budget thing. Which version of the YSR coilers did you buy for your old FRS? I got a set of inverted Pro Series, and I'm worried they're not going to cut it right after your review. I believe I had the inverted Pro Series also. I was not a huge fan of them. What I saw on their website and what I got in a box were not the same thing, so maybe I got sent the wrong set. I don't know. Let me know, though, how you like those yellow speeds. I personally didn't like the ones that I got. You guys have seen the reasons of why I didn't like those yellow speeds. But maybe they didn't give me the inverted ones. I am not entirely sure. I didn't look too much into it. I just threw them on the car and wasn't entirely happy with them. Hey, check my comment on your last video. I am sure that it's not rod knock. I will definitely swing through and check it out. I'm pretty sure it's a valve issue. But if it is a valve issue, it could lead to other things. If the valve sank too far and hit the piston, then we're going to be looking at a whole other slew of problems. Yo, what's a good car to get me into the scene that's under 10K? I've been searching and I can't decide on anything. If you're new to modifying cars, you haven't worked on cars too much, I would get something simple, something naturally aspirated. You can pick up some FRSs for under 10K. You can pick up older WRXs for under 10K. Miata's a really fun car, but Miata, everyone has Miata nowadays. If you can find a clean 240, a 240 is a really good one to snag. 280Zs are really cool if you can find one, but those are going up in price too. Kind of depends on what you're looking for. Coupe, sedan, there's a lot of options out there. What's up? Looking for my first Subaru WRX, and I am find a lot of rebuilt titles. Is that normal? Some states like to sell a lot of rebuilt titles. Portland is one of them. I suggest staying away from rebuilt salvage title cars. I had to sue a dealership a couple of years ago because they lied about the title status of one of the cars. Eric and I took a train down to Portland to go give the car back to him. It turns out the car had been totaled 3 times. When the car went to get registered up here in Washington State, it came back as a multiple rebuilt title. So I would typically stay away from rebuilt title cars. I'm going to sell my 240 and buy a Miata. Let me get that 240 then, Eric. Let me get that 240. What is the best place to connect for a smoke test in your opinion for a WRX? I have the Phantom evap code too. Take the intake off and go right on the turbo inlet. Best place to test from in my opinion. Should I get a... Oh, we already talked about that one. That was Eric swinging in. Chat jumped again. There we go. Just watch your last video. I can't believe a short blocker valve train problem isn't that bad. I would be freaking out. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Like I said, it'll take me an hour to an hour and a half to pull the motor out. It'll probably take me 2 hours In total, it'll probably take me 3 to 4 hours to pull the motor out, get everything stripped down, and get the heads off the car, so I'm not too concerned about it. We can do all the work here in the garage with the exception of resurfacing the heads. One of my concerns is resurfacing the block. I need to check for flatness on the block to make sure there's no warpage. If I can visually see that surface might be all right. I also have a feeler, not a feeler gauge, a small height gauge. I can get the motor propped up where I can measure things and see what the actual surface flatness is. If it's pretty consistent across the entire block, we'll run with it. If it needs to be resurfaced, then we'll go from there, but I have no idea. Appreciate the donos, guys. Killy. I'm doing Cadillac Brembo swap soon. Should I flush the OEM brake fluid out completely or just add mutual brake fluid on top of the OEM? If I were you, I would just add mutual brake fluid on top of the OEM and bleed the brakes enough to where you can get all of the old fluid out. I would just watch the master reservoir as it goes down. Once it gets to a point where you have to add more in and you know pretty confidently that it's pretty much just mutual in there at that point, you should be totally fine. But just make sure that if you are going to be doing that, you get all the .3 out if you're going to be using .4. If you're going to be sticking with .3 to .3, just make sure that it is all properly bled. Also, Plumber, appreciate the other dono, dude. You absolutely kill it, my friend. Hey, bro, I'm looking to upgrade to some Flex Z coilovers and sway bars. Any advice? Cheers. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of TN. I feel like TN is probably on the lower spectrum of coilover quality nowadays with all of the competitors out on the market, but they are pretty budget friendly. With sway bars, I was looking at getting either like white line. Actually, I'd probably only get white line because their fitment's always been the best for sway bars at least. I would stay away from white line's end links. I've had bad luck with all of white line's end links in the past. Perrin has some somewhat decent end links also. Cartboy has some good end links. You have a lot of options. Didn't you buy from that? Didn't you buy that car from the dealership? Get some money back. I touched on this earlier. When I bought the car, as you go and you buy most cars through most third-party dealerships, you sign an affidavit that states you buy the car as is. It doesn't come with a warranty or anything like that. I signed it. There's nothing that I can really do at this point, just to not other than just not buy another car from that dealership in the future. What's my favorite candy bar and why is it Butterfinger? It's actually a Twix. It's a Twix, Eric, not a Butterfinger. 2011 STI hatch. Oh, for the coilover sway bar one. Gotcha, dude. Just picked up a 2011 WRX Limited in March. Your videos have been awesome and all around. Thanks. Anytime, Rusty. Congrats on the car, dude. Hope you're enjoying it, man. Eric Davidson, what's going on, dude? Thanks, man. You are amazing. Your videos are basically the staple of Subaru enthusiast. I came from BMWs for 15 years and bought an 06 STI and running stage 1, and it has been delightful. Thank you. We'll appreciate the support, man. I hope you're enjoying that 06 STI. I can tell you now that it's probably a lot cheaper to modify than the BMW was. But both are super awesome brands. There's a couple BMWs I've wanted for a very long time. Just BMWs are incredibly, they're not incredibly more expensive, but they're a lot more expensive to modify in some aspects. Setting things up to get a full EJ built from Batterbuilt next year. 700 plus wheel horsepower. I'm super stoked. That's what I'm talking about, Cody. Be making all the power out there. Love the vids. Do you know, is Cobb make an access port for the 2007 Australian WRX? I don't. They do. Cobb does support the Australian market, I believe. I would check their website because I'm pretty sure they do support the Australian market for those cars. So definitely check that out. Evos are overrated. They may be overrated, but I still want an Evo 8 or 9. Fuel pump recommendation for 350 wheel horsepower, need to hardwire. You do not need to hardwire for 350 wheel horsepower. I would look at getting like a DW 300C, AEM 340 liter. Either one is a good option. Some people swear that DW have issues. I've never had an issue with a DW pump. Matt had an issue with a DW pump, but only because he was running it at 100% duty cycle for 3 years, so it was only bound that pump would die eventually. But DW 300C or the AEM 340 liter per hour. TGV, EGR, delete, yay or nay? Yay. 2J swap time? LS and 2J swap the world. That sounds expensive. I cannot wait to own a WRX, man. Hey, that's what I'm saying, dude. Alexander, also, what's going on, dude? By the way, my car got a 5.6 knock and dammed down to 0.75. I did notice on the snow when that happened, but went to my tuner and everything's good. Whew! Glad to hear. Glad to hear. So, I mean, if you guys are out doing, I know it's snowing a lot across the country. If you guys are out and about doing donuts in the snow, and you have stock oil pan windage tray pickup, just know that if you're like going sideways, like consistently in a donut, all that oil is going to slide to the slide to the side of the pan, and it is a possibility if your car does consume oil, and it might be low, that you could be sucking up air. So do just keep that in mind when you guys are out there going and doing that. I drive a 13 STI. Do you think it can handle 350 horsepower on stock block? 100% yes. I pushed mine to 400 horsepower and it was just fine. Thoughts on sway bars for your Blobeye? I need sway bars for my Blobeye. I can tell you that much. It needs all new suspension. It has Racelands on there. They're absolutely awful right now. Best place to buy a Subi? I want to say Subaru, but at the same time I don't. I would say look third party. See if you can find someone reputable who's selling one with a full build sheet and like a quality car. If you're going to a dealership, definitely check out like Subaru. I would say like an actual name brand dealership at that point, whether it's like Toyota, Subaru, Mazda, anything like that. People who actually go through and take a look at the cars before selling them. Get on the box with me tomorrow at some point. Eric, I'm pulling the motor tomorrow. I gotta pull the motor out of the STI tomorrow. I think I'll be busy all day tomorrow, unfortunately. Building a Forester XT as a sleeper. Should I change subframe linkage or leave it stock? What do you mean subframe linkage? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that one? Would you have thrown the 18 STI into the Blobeye if you hadn't? No regrets. Nope. Would have sold it. What? The Hawkeye is the best. Why is the Hawkeye the best? The Hawkeye is awesome. I do love Hawkeyes. Like I said, I've had a plethora of them in the past. Hey Tanner, I did some research about the 2015 Plus WRX transmission, and it couldn't find a solid answer. Reason I'm thinking is I'm a junior in high school. For the longest time, wanted a WRX and want. Well, what are you trying to find about the 2015 Plus WRX transmission? Did find a solid answer. Reason I'm asking. Well, what are you asking? What are we asking about with it? To build a WRX before I leave school. What about it? What about the 2015 Plus WRX transmission? What's the highest mileage Subaru you've owned? Probably my 1988 Subaru XT. That thing had like 400,000 miles on it. Thing was a trooper. Hello, Smedia. Hello, WRX-IZIV X backwards RW. I love Subaru and all JDM cars. That's what I'm saying, dude. That's awesome. 19 WRX, not my daily. How often should I start it? How long should I let it idle if I'm not going to drive it? Just let it idle up to like operating temp. Just let it sit there for like 15-20 minutes if you're going to let it idle. Just to let everything get up to temp. Let all fluids kind of go through the car and just let it all chill. Let it all chill and be solid. What's the chances that you have a spun bearing, likely due to poor oil change maintenance by previous owner? Like a percentage-wise, I'd say maybe 30%. I really think it's something in the heads. I really think it's a bad valve in the heads. I'm sticking with it. How did the knock just show up? Like we touched on that one earlier. It was there prior to going through and doing all the maintenance on the car. It was just a lot more prevalent after I fixed all the exhaust leaks and all the other schmoo that engine was building up. I wish they made more 22B boxes. Boxes? What do you mean by boxes? I'd watch the S13 build. See? No, we are Subi fans. I'm getting a yes and a no on the S13 stuff, Eric. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, dude. How did you not catch it when you bought? We touched on all that stuff, you guys. We touched on it. How much power do you think I could squeeze out of my 205 with head studs? Compression and leak down test are all good. Trying to make good power without spending money. Well, unfortunately, you're gonna have to spend the money to make the good power. Stock 205, I could probably see with head studs maybe around 320, maybe 340 if you're really pushing it. Can you run a front mount intercooler on stock turbo? 100%. I did it on the 2017 STI for quite a while. Wow, I actually caught up on comments. I'll look into the blast plates. Really want to keep it reliable since it's still low mileage. I've heard after 100k miles you have to do timing belt and other stuff. Just wanted to make it bulletproof. I do not blame you. You will have to do it. That's at like 90 to 95k miles for the timing belt, water pump, all that stuff. It's not too bad to do, as you guys saw in that video. Who wouldn't want to see a drift car build? Fight me. I like the S13 stuff. I would definitely shoot the S13 stuff. It'd be fun. I saw a video on your car. Sorry to hear about the engine. Anytime, dude. We'll get it rebuilt. We'll get back on the road. It's no big deal. I'm also in Washington, just north of Seattle. Well, that's what I'm saying, Stan's channel. Would be dope to meet you when you get the chance to do a fan meet. Also considering starting a YouTube channel. What advice can you offer? Car knowledge is low. So, when it comes to starting a car channel or any YouTube channel in that matter, something that I always tell people is don't get discouraged. Like, it took Smedia, or it took this channel 6 months to get up to 250 subscribers before it even like started getting any traction. You definitely have to enjoy making the videos. You have to enjoy the interaction between yourself and everyone, because this is my favorite part about doing a lot of the videos, is hanging out with everyone, doing the live streams, responding to your guys' comments, talking to you guys. Just don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged. It's definitely going to be a learning experience if you don't know how to shoot video, edit video, or anything like that, but you can definitely learn. Just stick with it. It's definitely fun. 2013 WRX. All I have is a catback exhaust. What mod should I do next? Air oil separator or access port. Flip a coin, whatever one it lands on, go with that one. Got an 04 and 06 STI. Looking forward to the new build you have coming. As I am pulling apart the 04 slowly and rebuilding the motor as well. Love your content and vids, bro. Hey, I'm glad I'm not the only one out there doing it. Logan, what's going on? Awesome stuff, man. Question, what suspension would you recommend for a daily, keeping stock height and on a bit of a budget? Definitely check out some strut and spring assemblies. Are always going to be cheaper for the most part. You can reuse your stock struts. If you want to throw a little bit of a lowering spring on there, you can. But I mean, it really depends on how much you're looking to spend. If you want to go coilovers, you can get something a little bit cheaper, like a set of second-hand BC Racing coils. You can do the T and Flex Z's if you wanted to. Those ones are pretty affordable as well, and it lets you adjust height to whatever you want. But both are awesome. Both are awesome options. I have an 06 STI and it consumes oil. Not sure where to look. Replace the turbo, and also where should I look for the? Also, where should I look for exhaust leaks, because I smell exhaust occasionally. Put the car up on jack stands, put it up on ramps, start the car, go under there. You can like feel around the exhaust with your hand if you want to, just to see where those exhaust leaks are coming out. You can fix those ones. As for the oil consumption issue, there's so many things that could cause cars to consume oil. Like I said, your rings could be starting to get worn. You have a lot of oil blow by going past the rings. There's a ton of stuff. It's hard to diagnose, or it's hard to give you guys like ideas of what could be causing your blow by, just because it could be so many different things. 450 wheel horsepower, stage 3-ish, full bolt-on cob access port. Very nice. Very nice, Michael. Is that in I feel like that might be in conjunction to something else. Sorry to hear about your car, dude. It's all good. It's all good, man. We'll get it fixed. We'll get it running again. We'll get it back on the road. But gonna outbuilt pistons in it. Gonna outbuilt piston. I don't know what that means. Don't know what that one means. Where did I just go? Oh, there I am. I just went stage 2 on a 2015 plus WRX. I was already thinking about getting an AOS or a catch can. Recommended other reliability mods. Like I said, TGV, EGR delete. AOS is obviously always on the list. Whole bunch of stuff. Could be a whole bunch of stuff. You guys, I got a ton of videos on reliability stuff. Ton of them. Ton of them. Appreciate the dono, Ravenchild. Repair rabbit hole fund. Always appreciate the donos, guys. You guys definitely kill it. It'll definitely go towards the rebuild. On the blah by, we will get it back on the road. We'll get her going again. You'll never live getting the how did I miss it questions. Yeah, I know. Who wouldn't want to see a drift car build? That's what I'm saying. Eric, you're all about the drift car build stuff. Already got a Pro Tune, made 310, 320. Ooh, nice. I mean, if you're already Pro Tune making those mods, I mean, I would honestly just make sure you got that AOS EGR delete at minimum, and you should be pretty solid. Those FA20 WRXs hold power well, and they hold them long term, as long as you take care of the car. The weakest point on those FA20s is going to be the connecting rods. Aside from that, just take care of it, and you should be pretty solid. Also, appreciate the member, Rondra. Always appreciate the memberships. You guys are absolutely killing it tonight. What do we get? We got like 4 new members, a couple donos. You guys are absolutely killing it. Always appreciate it, everyone. Was driving my car home from college for Christmas break and heard a slight knock, and then found lots of shiny bits of my oil. Time for a new build. I totally feel it. Hopefully you get the car back on the road soon and it's not a full like teardown rebuild. But on the bright side, it's an opportunity for more power, because that's what I like to look at it as. Did you check the computer when you were at the dealership? Within the dealership, allow you to hook up a cob access port. They didn't have an access port for the car, unfortunately. I had to buy an access port. I bought one through Brian at TMG the day I bought the car. So unfortunately, I didn't have an access port at the time. The car didn't come with an access port either. If it did, I would have been able to see a lot of those values if something was wrong. But at this point, like I said, it is what it is. I'd probably do a compression test since it's easy and fairly cheap. 100%. What are my thoughts on rear-wheel drive WRX? I have one, and everyone thinks it's dumb. I like them. I mean, I think rear-wheel drive WRXs are awesome. Why? I've seen a couple of them out at a local track, Spirit Peaks out there. It's a drift track. I've seen a handful of WRXs out there, and STIs that are rear-wheel drive swap. They're awesome. They're cool. They're different. Who tunes my cars? Surgeline tuning is pretty much my go-to for access port tuning. From now on going forward, if it's ECU tech, it's going to be Delicious Tuning. If it's standalone, that one is going to be engine specific for whoever has the most knowledge of tuning that engine or ECU setup. Like the EG33 with the Haltech is going to be tuned by PRE Racing. The 05 STI will be tuned by Surgeline. Chris down there, super awesome dude. But yeah, different tuners for different cars. I was at Washington for 3 years, lived in Tumwater, now I moved to Tennessee in the Army. Oh, I totally feel it. I'm guessing you were stuck. Tumwater. Tumwater. You just told me Tumwater. I haven't been out of Tennessee in a while. Also, Plumber, welcome to the membership program, my friend. Man, you guys are killing it with the membership programs tonight. We've had like five people now jump into the membership programs tonight. It's awesome. Members get like discounts on merch, everything like that. All the good stuff. All the good stuff. So make sure you scroll down a little bit. I'll update the membership tab tonight for discount codes and everything like that for all the new members in there. Hey man, any advice on mods for an 8 to 12 gen Accords? Have you ever worked on modding one? Just subscribed yesterday. I love your channel and great content, dude. Unfortunately, I don't have much experience modifying Accords. I can try to see what I can find. My buddy Brody knows a lot about Hondas, and we can probably touch on it in the next live stream. Or maybe I can bring him into the next live stream. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that one. I don't know too much about Hondas, unfortunately. But I'll see what I can learn and get back to you on that one. How do you think lightish gunmetal gray would look for calipers with dark metallic gray wheels and satin white pearl paint? Any other colors you think would look good? I'm actually digging that combo that you just threw out there. Are you going to be doing all the powder coating yourself on the calipers and everything? Sounds like fun. I like it. I mean, honestly, that's a good... I like neutral colors. That's a good neutral color combo setup that I would go with. I say rocket. Shoot me some pictures after you get it on there. Would match on BPV, etc. Shoot me some pictures once you get it on there. I'm definitely curious. It sounds like a solid like color scheme. I like neutral colors. Neutral colors are just... they go with everything. 2020 WRX catback exhaust IEG AOS Ambot E-Tune built work short shifter. What to mod next for power? So you got IEG AOS E-Tune. I would do like an intake J-pipe catback, kind of the basic bolt-ons at that point, just to get some more goodies on there. I feel like I've been a subscriber since you were like 1K. I wonder if there's a way to check. Anyway, buying a new 2020 WRX, kind of torn between leaving it stock or not. Thoughts on this? Going to be my daily, and I don't want to risk damaging the motor. I would say mod it, but drive it around stock for a while just so you get used to the car. Once you get used to it, man, just start modifying it however you want to. I would start with some of the reliability stuff just to increase the longevity of the motor, but those FA20s are pretty stout engines. I would not worry too much. Also, appreciate the support, dude. It's been a while since we were like 1K. Oh, maybe after warranty expires, though. True. I'm not sure if you remember the last time I wrote you on going to a water pump and timing belt from the dealer. They were charging me like $2K. I found a mechanic for $850. Is that a good deal? As long as the mechanic knows what he's doing 100%, yeah, that's a good deal. If I were to do someone's timing belt and they brought me all the supplies to do it, I would probably charge someone like $500 to do a timing belt. It's not as hard as people make it out to be, but I understand like businesses, shops, like actual shops have to pay overhead and everything. But $850 isn't a bad deal for a timing belt water pump setup. Also, last question before I go to bed. Launched the 04 WRX and heard a nice slap chunk near the rear axle, or maybe trans wheel hop, or could it be something else? It could be wheel hop, but I would definitely crawl under there, take a look, just to make sure everything's all right. If it still drives straight, drives fine, I wouldn't worry about it too much, but never hurts to take a peek under the car. Hey, I have an 02 Outback Limited sedan. I have a bent control arm mount that is on the body according to Subaru. What would be the best route of repairing? No idea what mount they're referring to also. I don't know what mount they're referring to either. I mean, you have hard mounts on the chassis that bolt up to some of the control arms, but if a control arm is bent, you can typically just pull the control arm off and swap them out. Highly recommend Billetworks short throw shifter for WRXs. Hands down the best ones. I don't know. The Boomba one was pretty good when I used the Boomba one. Sorry, I had to ditch the chat and decorate the tree, throwing it out there. Thursday messed up my schedule up. I totally feel it. Woo! All right, you guys, I gotta hop off. I'm like starting to lose my voice. It's getting like all sorts of scratchy. I'm gonna be pulling the motor in the 05 STI tomorrow night. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what I can find on that one. Hopefully it's just a bent valve in the head and we can get that fixed and corrected. Appreciate all the new members that are swinging through tonight. Also appreciate the last minute dono D-Night. Thank you for always answering my questions. Keep it up with the excellent content. Always my dudes. If you guys do want to support anything, you guys can always snag some merch. The link is in the chat for you guys. Appreciate everyone swinging through. Appreciate the donos, all the new members and everything like that. Next video will be out Saturday morning, 9:30 for you guys. We'll do another live stream this weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. I don't know what day quite yet, but keep an eye out for that. Hope you guys have an awesome Friday tomorrow, and I will catch you guys in the next one.